All right, part two. Actually, it went pretty smooth just because I had an idea in my head of where all the bolts went, what exactly I did to take those things off, and then having to reverse everything. Everything went on pretty easy. Got the intake and everything back on, alternator, all the vacuum lines, any connectors that I disconnected, wiring, bolts, miscellaneous stuff. The good news is, well, at the end of the day, any good news is when you don't have any extra bolts. So I pretty much took everything off and put everything back the way it was. Lowered the car back down, made sure all the fuel line bolts and everything on the bottom were good. Also, just another tip, when you're doing the starter, obviously if you looked at the video before how I fished it back under, you can easily go through here and connect the signal wire, which is basically just a slide on. But I would suggest before you put all the brackets, the fuel brackets and everything you disconnected to put the starter back in, what I would do is also put the power wire of the starter with the bolt and everything from underneath. It's way easier to access, and then all you do is just fish a long extension through and bolt it on and tighten it down. That was just one thing I thought of, and that was actually easier instead of doing the reverse. But pretty much everything is in, starter's in. I guess the moment of truth. Let me grab the keys. All right. I guess the last thing you would want to do, which I guess is not obvious, but I would have figured that out eventually. You definitely want to put the negative battery terminal back on. That will be the first thing you disconnect and the last thing you reconnect. Let's get the 10 millimeter here. Alright, let's just get this back on here real quick. Should have probably cleaned this terminal up a little bit, but whatever. Alright, that's good. Didn't touch the positive, so that's fine. Alright, so everything is connected. Battery's good. Moment of truth. Started up. All joking aside, maybe hopefully it doesn't blow up, but just kidding, maybe not. Okay. Alright, clutch in, out of gear, and see what happens. Perfect. No whine. So my issue was the starter. I'm gonna let it run just a little bit with no acceleration or anything. I'm gonna let it idle back down. Started up perfectly fine. No noise at startup. I'm gonna wait a minute or so and then I'm gonna shut it off and restart it again just to make sure that issue is solved. But I double checked everything over, made sure everything was connected. All the vacuum lines, I made sure they were good. Anything that I disconnected, I plugged in. I had disconnected the sensor up here just to look straight down through the runner so I can see where the bolts were. Didn't have to do that afterwards, but initially I didn't know where it was, so I had to look around. But yeah, I'm happy. Starts up perfectly fine. I'm gonna shut it off and restart. Alright, shut it off. Gonna restart it again. Perfect. Problem fixed. If you have any comments or questions or anything else that you guys have something else to work on as I work on this car, again it's s2000, pretty stock. I just did the radio and everything last week and the speakers. I did get a DCI from forgot the name of the company or the person. It's actually a s2000 owner. I think it's Wi-Fi or something along those lines. Basically, it's a module of some sort to keep your DCI or your controls. So basically, you don't lose any of this. So as you're driving, even though it's an aftermarket Pioneer radio, I can keep the volume, mute, channel, you know, all this audio stuff on the left hand side, which is pretty cool. With the cable and everything, I think it was 120 bucks. Paid 180 for this Pioneer radio, which is really awesome, and about 80 bucks for the pair of speakers. These are Infinity speakers. But yeah, man, overall I'm pretty happy now. Everything I wanted to do maintenance wise is done, and noise is fixed. I did do the all the fluids, differential, trans and everything, so I'll be good for another 15,000 miles on the diff and everything in the trans. But yeah, drop any comments.